Hi, I'm a girl who loves Supergirl, and I'm here to give you a review and Easter eggs of Supergirl episode 17, Manhunter. Hi, I'm Ashley Victoria Robinson, your girl on Supergirl. Let's roll right into all the good that came in this week's episode. Now, the title of this episode is Manhunter, which kind of gives away the fact that we're going to focus a lot on Martian Manhunter, J'onn J'onzz, and David Harewood did not disappoint. The scene that we got, his first big scene where you see the flashback to him and Jeremiah Danvers, played by the one and only Superman himself, Dean Cain. I thought that was a really excellent scene, and you got to see David Harewood truly becoming the alien. We've seen him play a very reserved version compared to this, but this was the time that he very much seemed like someone who was out of this world. Now, as far as the writing goes in that scene, I think it clipped along really quickly, and he formed a very fast bond with Jeremiah Danvers, but that is probably the point, and it's probably to indicate why he has such a strong connection and such a will to look after Kara and Alex, as we see in some of the other flashbacks in this episode. I think that David Harewood has consistently knocked it out of the park. That scene looked amazing, and props to special effects supervisor Armin Kevorkian. It is the best that CGI head has looked all season. Primo Martian Manhunter action going on this time. The second thing that I really liked was we got a lot of drops of Superman / Clark Kent this episode. Now, my theory is because there's a little movie coming out with Superman's name in it this weekend, but it was cool that we got a lot of very hard ties back to Superman without having to have him kind of step in and step on Supergirl's territory, which we saw a little bit earlier in the season. Just nice to be reminded of that dedication and that familial aspect without it intruding on the plot too much. And finally, the thing that I really liked about this episode was that Lucy Lane finally gets something to do. I think that her leading the DEO is a really interesting step for her character and a really interesting paradigm shift within the DEO itself. And I'm looking forward to see her and Supergirl be able to act openly as allies, which is something that they haven't been able to do before because Lucy, she didn't know that Kara was Supergirl. The glasses with the lead, they fooled everyone and probably infected some people in a really bad way. So it's nice to see Lucy step up, and I'm looking forward to seeing what she's going to do in the coming episodes towards the finale of this season. Time to talk about this week's Easter eggs in Supergirl. The first thing I want to talk about is this courthouse that we see Kara standing out in front of. Now, fans of the Batman 66 series with Adam West will recognize these stairs from the Batman 66 series. Very cool that we got to see the two DC properties tying together. We also meet a military character named James Jim Harper, who is the guardian of CADMUS, which kind of means that he's the head of CADMUS's security. He was first created by Jack Kirby and Joe Simon to appear in Star Spangled Comics #7 in April of 1942. So James Harper is a bona fide Golden Age DC Comics character. Now, what is CADMUS? Well, CADMUS is kind of this evil cloning facility, and the thing that a lot of you might recognize it from is CADMUS is what cloned Superboy. We also got a reference to Chocos. Chocos are an in-DCU continuity favorite snack of the Martian Manhunter, and it was really cool to see them practically applied. It's also a very telling character beat about Hank Henshaw / J'onn J'onzz. The final Easter egg that I have for you is Swan Beach. In a flashback, we see that Kara and Alex go there with some of their middle school friends. I think that that's an allusion to Kurt Swan, who's a classic Superman artist who also worked on Action Comics and Adventure Comics. Adventure Comics, of course, being where Supergirl did a lot of her earliest adventures in the DC Comics universe. There were so many cool Easter eggs this week. We got spoiled with Easter eggs. I loved it. All right, now let's talk about the bad in this episode of Supergirl. Now, the first thing I want to address is the employees of CATCO. Employees of CATCO. I have been an employee of many places in my life, and as someone who's generally a pretty good employee, you would be fired. Win just up and leaves for no reason. Kara doesn't show up to work at all. There have been several instances throughout the season where they have shirked work for various responsibilities, superhuman and otherwise, and I really think that by this point, let's say it's been going on for a couple months, this Cat Grant is not going to stand for it. None of them would have jobs. And then secondly, CATCO, what is your security like? Because Siobhan has been out of work for some time now, enough time that she's angry about it, and she just gets to waltz in there in the middle of the night, deactivate your key cards, get your security guard on it. If you're a worldwide media company, you need to up your game a little bit is all I'm saying. Now, let me talk about the military characters. That would be Lucy and that would be James. First of all, they wouldn't be wearing their dress uniforms to an interrogation like we see them undertaking in the DEO. And if they were, they wouldn't have their hats on. It's little stuff like this that gives away the fact that we're watching actors rather than the fact that we're watching real people living those roles. And it's just something that I found incredibly distracting. It's really too bad because for the most part, I think that the military stepping in and involving themselves in the DEO this way does a lot to change the series going forward and forward the characters' plots. But it's just those little details, those little nitpicks that really take you out of the episode, which is otherwise a really good time. Now it is time for my crazy theory of the week. All right, so we now have Lucy Lane as the head of the DEO. We have her in a tight bond with Kara, and if you're familiar with Lucy Lane from the comics, you know that she is Superwoman. So my prediction is that in the season finale, she is gonna call Kara into one of the weird side rooms of the DEO, because that hallway just seems to go on forever, and she is gonna admit to Kara, and she's gonna do the same thing that Kara did. She's gonna pull back her civilian clothes, you're gonna see her uniform, and we're gonna get a final fight scene where Superwoman and Supergirl have to team up. Now I'm going to give you my rating for this episode. As always, the scale goes from a potential 1 to 5 Kryptonian crystals, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. Overall, I'm going to give Manhunter a solid 4 Kryptonian crystals. Nothing is perfect. I had a couple, little detail problems with this episode, but I think that this was a really fun time. We learned a lot about the characters, and you can see where this series is driving towards its season finale. A solid episode of television, and I had a great time. Now, this is the first time that we have heard CADMUS mentioned this season, and I think it is a bold setup for Season 2 moving forward. There are a ton of DC characters that tie back to CADMUS, and that's what I want to know from you. I want you to go down to the comment section and tell me what character you want to see that ties back into CADMUS. Do you want to see Jim Harper go full-on Guardian? Do you want to see Superboy come into this world? Because I really want to see him, and I think he'd be a great analog for Superman. Let me know in the comment section what you think. If you like this recap show, we do a Legends of Tomorrow recap show right there every Thursday. And if you want to support this show, Geek History Lesson, and everything that we do here on Jawiin, head on over to patreon.com/Jawiin, Jawiin. All of your support means the world to us. Don't forget to go down and click that subscribe button so you get everything that we have going on here. Thank you so much for watching. I have been Ashley Victoria Robinson, your girl on Supergirl. Be safe and make good choices.